This video is a big hug and a huge shout out for my big sister. Hey big sister, I love you. So she placed an order for me for my birthday from Stampington and Company. So I got a box of goodies, including their October, November, December 2022 art journaling magazine. Wee, look at all that. And some Dina Wakely collage papers. You can see I've busted into everything already. Some Tim Holtz linen tape. She got me a few more of those, the distress crayons, some distress inks, some tags, even came with a mug. She believed she could, so she did mug. That's already in the kitchen. I want to create a tag. I did this tag for her already. She loves orchids, so I did this quick thank you tag for her with some embossing. But she didn't quite understand how to use the collage papers. Not that she's using them, but she didn't understand how I would use them. So that's why I thought I would put, I'm going to say quick, a quick video together, creating another tag for her. Hopefully with the editing process, I can make it a quick video. So I'm just going to play. I went through some of my own stash using the new mat that I got from scrapbook.com. It picks up the cat hair really good. But I also went through, I picked out some sentiments. I haven't chose which one I want to use yet. I love these tags from Traditional Medicinals Tea. I have a bunch of die cuts that I made on my Cricut. Little flowers. I'll spend a day making flowers for myself on the Cricut, so I have them off to the side. What's my inspiration? I will show you. Where did I put my tablet? As soon as I find my tablet, I put the magazine on top of it. Also covered with cat hair. Alright, since we have these windows here, I went on to I have a Pinterest. What do you call those things? Board. A board. Okay. So I went on to my Pinterest board that I keep of windows, and look at this one right away. So pretty. And is really matching that window there. So I'm going to use that as my inspiration. Hey guys, you have the Lady Laughsalot's alter ego here, the voiceover, joining you on this fun trip. In a second here, I'm going to pull out Liquitex Matte Gel. This is great to use as an adhesive, to stick that window to the tag, and also to seal over the top of it. I'm going to get to try the Cloud Whip for the first time. This I bought from scrapbook.com. Sealed for your protection. Oh, here it comes. Ooh, pew. I'm going to give that a bit of texture in the background. Now, This is a Prima. Jamie Dougherty. I was watching on scrapbook.com how they're mixing colors with the Cloud Whip. So I want to do this kind of algae green, I believe. Probably do a little combination of the algae green, and I'm going to put these aside because I have some large ones already open. So I'm going to keep them sealed with the peeled paint. Maybe some iced spruce. Maybe the walnut stain. Alright, so this is a very tiny card, so I'm not going to need a lot. I think I'm more interested in the greenish color. Palette knife. Ooh, that's a lot thicker than I thought it was going to be. So using this stencil with the Cloud Whip, and the Cloud Whip is now tinted with some of that Distress Oxide, it gives the tag a bit of texture. So now it's almost like you're really looking at the outside wall of where that window is, like the stucco. Goody, I have some left over. I can play on something else when I'm done here. I just really love that three-dimensional texture that it gives the tag. And now as I am playing with the Cloud Whip, I'm realizing I really can't wait to use it later. So I'm going to have to come up with some ideas. Let's cover this up. Boy, whew, I feel like this should say use in a well-ventilated area. So instead of letting that sit there, I'm coming up with ideas in my head of how I'm going to use that up before I continue. Lift this, put this to the side for a second, and perhaps I will grab another tag. And do some more of this to use some of this up. Phew. That'll be a fun one to play with later. And I have this fabulous notebook that I call my crap book, and it's just craziness. Anyway.
That silicone sheet from scrapbook.com has come in quite handy.
Let me just take a minute here. So nothing goes to waste. Okay, so I'll have fun with that later too. Alright, let me give this a quick rinse. So while this is also drying, I like how there's always vines, right? Can you see? So I pulled out some of this twine. I feel like I want to make it crawl. That looks pretty good. I want to open this and separate the braid. Oh, that looks fun, doesn't it? It looks perfect the way it's bending. I'm going to go back to the matte gel for that. I should have just made two, because I'm loving this so much. I'm going to want one for myself.
For the sake of time again, I edited that clip short because obviously I painted the whole thing with the matte gel to stick it to the tag and then took the time with the heat gun to dry it. This is my first time playing with the distress crayons. Basically, once you apply it, you take your finger or you can take a wet wipe and you rub it. Now with the wet wipe, you're taking more off than putting on. And with your finger, you're just blending it in better, and it's giving the tag that patina look of the old wall, the outside wall.
Gosh, what color is this? Because I thought it'd be tan, and it's like perfect color. Oh, frayed burlap. How appropriate.
I say that because that's burlap twine on the tag.
I really want to use some of this linen tape, but I don't know how or where I would incorporate it into that.
At least not yet. It will come back in the future.
Let's see. Wondering if, right, I've got the iced spruce and I've got the peeled paint.
The best part about this is this whole line from Ranger ink, the Distress Oxide, the Distress Crayons, they all work very well together and the colors blend very nicely. Now these Distress Oxides that I'm putting on now are more water reactive than the crayons. And you'll see what I mean by that in a second. So I'm spraying some water on the silicone mat off to the side, and I'm going to drench the paintbrush in it, and then use one of those crayons here to tap the water off the brush. And you really can't see the effect it's having on the video, but it's leaving splotches of water with the Distress Oxides. And as I'm going by with the baby wipe, it's helping to pull some of that water up and some of that color up, and it's giving it more of a distressed look. This is real fun too, because you don't have to color with the crayons on the tag. You can use the silicone mat and almost use it like a watercolor palette. Now what I struggled with here is that I'm really looking for a darker green. And the Distress Crayon pack that I have there are more pastel colors.
Dipping into my oil pastels, going for cobalt green. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A little bit more of that, please.
The effect I was going for here is that along the vine would be leaves, but I didn't want to draw leaves, I didn't want to paint leaves, I didn't want to cut out leaves, so I just wanted to go for the effect. So that's why I'm doing that splatter effect with the dark green. You'll find that a large part of the video is really about trying to establish colors on the tag just to create this distressed look and give it a lot of character. And because you have that three-dimensional cloud whip on there, it really helps play with light and dark in the colors as it fills in the spaces in between. So I didn't really speed up this section because I wanted you to enjoy the ASMR of me going through the packaging, trying to pick out what I'd like to use to embellish the tag. I'm picturing underneath the window lots of greenery, right? So I went through my die cuts there to establish some embellishments. And the best part about when I make my own die cuts is that I do them on a white cardstock so that when I need them, I can use any kind of medium to color them. So whether it's these copic markers or watercolors, Sharpies, distress oxide inks, anything, I can make them the color that I want for the situation I need. So guys, when I look at this video in its raw form, unedited, it's about 2 hours and 45 minutes. So shortly, I'm going to start chopping this up in a way that you can see things as they're getting applied, because you get the idea of what I'm doing here, right? I'm coloring the pieces the way I want. I'm going to cut them to fit in the way that I want, and I'm just going to explore and play and discover where I want to put these things. Some flowers, more color. Gotta love those little tweezers. Those tweezers are so helpful because it gets my fingers out of the way so that I can see what the placement will look like. I decided to put a piece of foam under this one branch, shall we call it, because it's three-dimensional. It's up on top of that twine that's being used as a vine, so it's just helping to support it. Then I placed another leaf up higher. I left this in because I wanted to show you how those ferns there on the left, I hit with the Copic markers, but to give it more depth and make it look a little more natural, I also added a little bit of the distress oxides. I'm using my fine point glue so that I can hit the tiny little leaves of the tiny little ferns. Need tiny little fingers. There. So I placed one fern, two ferns. Now I'm going to play with the flowers. I decided to go only with the tiny flowers. Now I tried using the distress crayon to give it some color and color them, but it was too light for me. I wasn't quite happy, but I did lay them out to try to get a feel for how the tag was going to look, but I didn't glue them down yet. And now that I have the ferns clustered in the corner, I've decided to look at these linens again, this linen tape.
It's different. I didn't realize that there's
different patterns along it. You know, I never realized how often I did that, where I talk out loud, I start a sentence, and then I finish the sentence in my head. That's why you have me, the alter ego, here to help you along.
Well, that's going to be fun, sticking to my finger.
Once I decided to use this linen tape, I wanted it to look distressed. So I'm pulling threads.
I can get this to look shaggy. I would really, really like it.
Alright, so I speed this up because it took me like 2 minutes. It's such a good quality linen tape that it really didn't want to get distressed. It gave me a hard time. So I'm pulling more threads out and pretending like I'm trying to tear it. And it was sticky on the back, so it kept sticking to my fingers. So this gave me a good platform to put my sentiment down in that corner. Here you go. So I chose the tea bag sentiment, and I decided to cut it to size so it would fit better. And it was too clean and white, so I was using whatever colors I still had on the silicone mat to kind of make it look dirty and distressed. Might as well use up some inks that are still on the mat. Use some of that vintage photo color. Where's that? Oh, that's the ice. Spruce ice, ice spruce. Alright, so I like the looks of that there, but I haven't glued it down yet. Because now, and look, I forgot I didn't glue down the flowers. But now that things were in place, I realized the tag was still too tag color. So now I'm going to start playing with really making this look a little bit more distressed. I love when you're playing with a little bit more liquid on that three-dimensional texture, how the liquid falls between the cracks. Darkening the edges. So again, this is just time to play and explore. What do I like? What don't I like? Yeah, I take some time here to darken the edges. I know I cut this short. You don't need to see me do all that. You'll get the idea. So I've darkened all the edges, and now I'm going along where I glued the vine down, trying to get rid of some of these white spots. Alright, so we put it into fast forward so you can get an idea of how I'm just going along, adding more color. Okay, let's glue things down. Okay, so we glue down the sentiment. Still not happy with the color, adding some more color. It's a process. I was getting frustrated here because I had just used the wet brush and the crayon doesn't want to stick to where the tag is wet. And instead of just drying it or waiting, I was impatient and kept trying to add more color. Alright, so I'm using these Arteza watercolor markers to color the flowers. So I started with an orange, and then after the orange I added more of a red. But I didn't do the whole flower. I did about half of the flower. And then what I did was come in with the wet paintbrush to help blend the orange and the red. Oh, dealing with these little tiny things, they want to stick to my fingers. The bottom to me. The bottom wasn't dark enough for me. So I started messing around with that, trying to figure out what color did I want in there. I let it go for now, and now we're going to adhere the little flowers. You got 1, 2, 3. That looks good right there behind the leaf. 4, 5 on top of the leaf. 6 up in the right hand corner with a little friend. Number 7. There you go. Playing with my new pops of color. So this paint will stay three-dimensional. So all I'm doing is going into the center of each flower just to give it that pop of color. They really should have named them that, Pops of Color. Would have been a good name. Oh, so believe it or not, I'm still not satisfied with this. I decided, since I have orange flowers on there, I took the orange distress crayon, add a little more orange in that corner, just so it had some continuity. And I love this new technique that I learned from Diane Reevely with the baby wipes, and how it removes some color. I finally pulled out my watercolor. This is my little travel watercolor. And got that really dark green. I felt like I needed more, like, leaves. It needed more green splatter there. Then after adding more splatter, that bottom under the window just needed to be darker. I think with the darker green, it helps feel more grounded. Guys, as usual, thank you for watching and watching till the end. I hope you enjoy listening to my process and seeing what it takes to actually come up with something that looks like this in the end. I added a bit of a distressed ribbon and sent it off to my sister. Love you guys. Love you, sis. See you next time.